to join our Microsoft Teams 101 training session today. A little bit about me. My name is Ty. I'm one of the VCIOs here at Smart Dolphins IT. So I basically help with long-term planning and guidance and helping to translate all of our technical skills to business decisions and strategy for our clients. Smart Dolphins itself is a managed service provider based in Victoria, but we service businesses all up the island and in Vancouver as well. And we basically just replace or outsource your entire IT department. So everything from day-to-day support and projects, long-term planning, all of that sort of stuff so that you can focus on your business. Also want to highlight some of our upcoming events. On the 25th, we have ChatGPT as a business tool. So very hot topic right now. People looking to figure out how to better leverage this new tool and what it means for businesses. So definitely one to look out for. We have our Identity Security Essentials on the 27th. So that's a recurring session, great for sending new staff to, or anybody who's never been before and maybe just needs to brush up on the latest threats and malware that's out there. We also have a session on planning your transition to modern flexible IT. So better leveraging cloud systems like Microsoft 365, what it looks like to get away from that old server in the back of your office and be able to work from anywhere with a really smooth experience. So great session there. Do be sure to check out smartdolphins.com/training as we're always adding new training sessions. All right, if you do have any questions today, please enter them into the chat. We'll do our best to answer them as we go along. Otherwise, we do have some time at the end of the session, so we might save some questions there if they don't quite fit in at the moment. And with that, I would like to introduce our speaker today. So it's an honor to introduce Jolynn Reen. Jolynn has been teaching Microsoft apps since they were first released. She is a certified trainer and Microsoft Master Instructor with over 30 years of experience. She teaches on the basics to advanced features using programs like Teams, Excel, SharePoint, Outlook, OneDrive, and more. Take it away, Jolynn.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And welcome everybody to Microsoft Teams 101. So today what we want to do is take you through what exactly is this program and what are some of the tools built in to Microsoft Teams. So if this is something that is brand new to you, I just want to mention that it's something that I have open all day long, every day. It's something that I'm utilizing continuously. I think of it as a front end program to give me access to several other things on my computer. And you're going to see what I mean by that here today. So Microsoft Teams is a program that allows us to communicate. It helps us to work as a group together, as a team together, to collaborate on documents, to be chatting, to do meetings, etc. So we'll kind of break down each of the different entities of the program here today. So it is available, just so you're aware, as a desktop app. You can be using it as an online app, or you can even be using it on your phone. So it's kind of cool how I'll be sitting here in class, and when I'm kind of going back and forth between my two computers and doing some demonstrations, I'll have my phone going off during the class as well. I can see my light come on, and because I'm getting my notifications on my phone as well as on my computer. So one of the first things that I wanted to mention is when we have this program called Teams, how do we know we should even go to it? What's going to draw our attention to get us to the program called Teams? So if you have the app open, down at the bottom on your status bar, you're going to see the icon for Teams. And if you have anything new that is directly related in the program for you, that was sent to you or you were mentioned, you're going to see an icon, a red circle with a number. The number that's going to be in that red circle is going to be related to how many notifications do you actively have. So that's one way it's going to draw our attention. But let me give you another way that it's going to draw your attention. And let's say that I am just in PowerPoint. let me just put PowerPoint on my screen here for one moment. So when I'm just in the PowerPoint app and I'm working on my slides and different things, I can actually get a pop-up notification that would appear at the bottom right of my screen, letting me know that I have something new. Now, my number did not change down at the bottom because of the fact that it's in the same category as the other communication was. But let me explain what I mean by that. So, and by the way, I didn't look to see at the bottom right if it showed up on that your monitor that you can see. I think it might have just shown up on my other monitor, my main monitor. Sorry about that. You might not have seen the pop-up at the bottom right. But what you're going to see then is when you come in, on the left-hand side, when you open up Teams, the left-hand side is going to give you a navigation pane, which is going to allow you to navigate to different parts of Teams. So we're going to walk through each of those so you have an understanding as to what's included. But how do I know if I have something new in a specific area of Teams? If I look at the left-hand side, I can see the red circle is on the chat. That's letting me know that I have something new in that category of the program. So the icon down on the taskbar, as well as when you come in, you're going to know if something is directly related to you. So you won't miss anything that happens in the program. You know, so it's like when you get a new email in Outlook, you could have a banner notification at the bottom right. You could just get an envelope icon on your Outlook icon down at the taskbar. There's different ways that we get notified. We get that same here in Teams. Teams is a program that is connected to other programs. We're going to see here today that Teams is actually connected to Outlook. Teams is also connected to SharePoint, and it's going to be connected to other apps in Microsoft as well. Things like Planner / To-Dos or Microsoft OneNote. We can be connected to other Microsoft apps. So when I was talking about, you know, it's kind of like my front end program, because I can access other things, other programs without leaving Teams. I can even work on files directly here in Teams. I don't have to leave Microsoft Teams to actually work on a file. So those are some things that I'll show you how that all works here today. So let's run through what we have on the navigation pane on the left-hand side. Starting at the very top, you're going to see activities. Activities. Now, I don't happen to have any activities right at the moment, but things like that we'll learn about the program, some today, some in a different level of class. But if I had a task that was assigned to me, I can actually get a notification in the activities. Or if I were mentioned someplace, I could actually get a notification in the activities. It's a feed to show you different related things within Teams. But we'll probably spend most of our time in the other areas, like chat. Chat is one of the most common features in the program. This allows you to chat back and forth with someone or multiple people doing a group chat. So you could have a one-on-one chatting conversation. It's our instant messenger. We can initiate a chat by going to Outlook and starting a chat. We can also chat directly here through Teams, but we don't have to be in Teams to respond to a chat. We can do so directly through Microsoft Outlook. So we have very strong connectivity with Outlook. Okay. So when you're looking at the middle part of the window, so basically we kind of read the screen from left to middle to right. So when I'm in the middle, whatever I click on from the middle will display the contents of it on the right-hand side. I happen to be on a chat that is with my other laptop next to me called Student One. And you can see on the right-hand side the history of the chatting I was doing with Student One. And I can go way back in time. I'm in 2001, 2000, you know, so I can go back in time of all these different chats. Well, the chances of me kind of going back too far might be a little bit slim, but what if I was actually sharing a file in a chat, which we have the capability of doing, which is fantastic. We can actually share a file with the person that we are chatting with by attaching the file down in the message down at the bottom where you type your message. You can actually be going out to your computer or your cloud, wherever, and finding a file that you want to share with the person you're chatting with. You can actually attach a file along with a message if you want, of course, and then you can send it. So I just had my other computer do that. My other computer just sent me a chat that they attached a file. They did it by going down to the bottom, clicking on the paperclip icon, and then they uploaded the file that they wanted. So now that I'm seeing this file, if I have lots of files that we have sent back and forth to each other in this chat, I don't have to scroll through history, years and years back to find the files that we have shared. So this one is called Cost Crashing. It's hard to say. We have at the top of the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see that we have different tabs. I can see a chat tab. I can see files, organization, activity, and I happen to have LinkedIn. But if I click on files, this is going to open up a list of all the files that I have shared back and forth in this chat with this person. Now, this is actually an example that I use in a lot of classes, so it has a lot of files going back and forth. But as you can see, I can go back to just seeing the files. It's kind of like filtering based on attachments. We just click on that files tab and we just see files. If I want to go back and see the chat, the history of the chat back and forth, I can click on the chat tab at the top of the window. So chatting date and timestamps so that we see that history. So I could go back and see, what did I say? What did they say? That kind of a thing going back and forth. Okay. And by the way, I can't remember if this was mentioned yet, but there is a handout for you in the chat. There is a handout for you in the chat. If you want to go to the chat and open up the handout, you can use that handout to follow along. Plus, it's good reference material for after we get done with the session. So chatting is just a communication that we can have with one or more people. On the middle of the window, though, when you look at the middle of the window, you can see that I'm looking at this chat. I'm selected on a chat from student 1. I'm seeing their profile circle, but then I'm seeing a whole bunch of icons with blue with a little calendar image. And then I'm seeing another one. I'm seeing some other ones down below. So I'm seeing different chats, but what are these things with the blue? If I click on this one called Microsoft Excel training, this is actually a meeting. So when we do a meeting in Teams, we can come back and access the contents of the meeting through the chat. So if I schedule a meeting, which I'll show you how to do in just a few minutes, when I schedule a meeting through Teams, after I do the meeting, I can come back in here to see the history of the meeting. So I click on any of them that have the blue circle with a calendar icon, those are meetings. When I click on it, I can see if there was a chat. I can see if there was a video for it. I can also see if there were files shared. So I have a files tab up at the top of this meeting. I could see if there were any files that were shared during that meeting that I had. Or I can go to recordings and transcripts, where I could see any recordings or transcripts that were made for that meeting, or if there was Q&A going on, because we have the capability of doing Q&A, or if there were meeting minutes that were being taken, I would have a wiki available that I could go into to see the notes from the meeting. So just so you know, the chat includes history of meetings as well. So it's not just for one-on-one conversations that I have back and forth with someone, or group conversations that I have with multiple people, which this happens to be a group communication that I was doing. We were having a discussion about social media, And I know that it's multiple people because when I look at the circle for the profile, it shows me more than one person. So I always know if it's a group of people I was chatting with. So it's kind of cool how all that kind of flows together. So we can identify what's going on by just looking at that image, looking at that icon. So we'll talk a little bit more in detail about chatting because it corresponds with a few other things, but you can see in your handout on page 2, there's some information about how do I chat from Outlook. So let me actually open up my Outlook and show you how that works. Get to my Outlook here, and I'm going to bring that over. So when I'm looking at my Outlook, if I wanted to chat with somebody, I can go to their profile, either their profile circle and hesitate, or their email address and hesitate. And what it's going to do is give me a pop-up menu. From that pop-up menu, I could actually make a phone call directly through Teams to that person, or this little call out icon, which when you hesitate, it says I am for instant message, but that's our chat. I could also send that person an email, etc. So when we hesitate on someone's profile, we get a lot of different information related. So let me actually show you an example here of, I have my student 1 up, and if I hesitate on my student 1, I want to point out a couple of things that we're actually seeing when we hesitate on someone's profile circle. You're actually seeing this green circle with a check mark. That's letting me know that the person that I'm hesitating on is available. That green circle is their availability, otherwise known as their presence. My circle is red. I can see in the background right here, my circle is red because I'm in this meeting. And so Outlook and Teams communicate together, and it lets people know what you're doing, if you're available to chat or not. If it's red, you probably shouldn't chat with the person because they're busy. Okay. But if it's green, you know they're available. Okay. But also, like I said, I could start a phone call with that person directly from here, but I'm going to click on chat. So I'm in Outlook, I'm going to click on chat, and it takes me back to my previous chat with that person in a separate window. So I don't have to go back to Teams to chat back with that person. I can respond to their chat right here. Yes, I am open on Friday at 9 a.m. And then I just send, and it's an informal communication that you can have with someone by chatting back and forth with them. I don't always need to send a full email on something that's very simple. It's easier just to send them a quick chat. So I could do all of that directly here in Team or in Outlook. And when you look at the top of this window on the top right, I have quick, easy access to starting a video call with the person that I'm chatting with. Or I could do an audio call. So watch for the icons of a video camera or a phone receiver. Those would allow you to actually do a phone call with that other person. Not sure if you've heard of the fact that Teams actually allows that, but it's pretty cool that we could do that. Now I'm just going to close this window in Outlook so I can just go back to my, doing my emails and those kind of things. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Teams and continue the conversation about the chat for a moment. So down at the bottom, you can see that whatever recent chat you went to, you just click on it from this list. But if you want to start a brand new chat, you could do that at the top of this middle part of the window. There's an icon towards the right-hand side of that pane of the window. It's a little square with a pencil. When you click on that, that will give you a new chat. Control N is your keyboard shortcut when you are in the chat category. So then I can choose who do I want to chat with. I can just start typing the name of the person, click on it, or add multiple people. And if I haven't already started chatting with them, it will start a brand new chat. If I have a previous chat that I've already done with that person or that group of people, it will take me back to that previous chat. Okay, just so you know, you can start a brand new one from there. Okay, enough about chat for right now. Let's go to the left-hand side. I'm going to skip over Teams for right at the moment. I'm going to skip over Teams right at the moment, and I'm actually going to go to the calendar. I'm going to click calendar. The calendar is actually connected to my Outlook calendar, so they sync together. So I can see anything that I add in Outlook, or if I add something here to the calendar in Teams, I'm going to be able to see it in Outlook. So they go back and forth, because I could create a new Teams meeting in Outlook, or I could create a new Teams meeting here in Teams. First, I'm going to show you how you could do that directly through Outlook, because that's where you would probably do it the most. We would probably go to Outlook to do it. So I'm going to go back to Outlook. And when I'm in Outlook, I go to my calendar. And if I want to schedule a meeting for tomorrow, and let's say I want it to be from 9 to 10, I could click and drag to select that time frame. I could also right click. I could say I want to do, maybe I just want to say I want to do a new appointment. I could do it that way. I could start it that way. But then to turn it into a Teams meeting, I'd have to click on the icon for Teams. So usually, I'm just going to close this. Usually what I will do is I might select the day and time, because I'm probably looking at the date I want to schedule it for anyway. So a lot of times I'll select the time on that day. Then I'm going to go to my ribbon, my calendar ribbon on the home tab. I'm going to click on the icon for Teams meeting. It will automatically start a new meeting, just like I could with an appointment. I could turn it into a meeting, but because I chose Teams, it's going to automatically give me my Teams connection information down in the body of the meeting. What we will do is put in what the title is. So maybe I'm going to do a planning session for new project. And I'm going to put in who's going to be required to attend the meeting. I could put in anybody that is optional, just like you normally would do. You know, those are normal things that you would do with any type of a meeting. Now I'm just going to invite my other computer here, but I could change the date and the time that I want to conduct the meeting. Notice the location does say Microsoft Teams. The location is important, because we need to know, is this meeting being held online, or is it being held in building 12, second floor conference room? You know, we need to know exactly where the meeting's being held. But I'm always going to put in an agenda. So what is the purpose of the meeting? What's the objective? And what are we going to talk about? So I would come to the body of the meeting, just like I always do, and I would put all that information in. Okay. So it works just like a normal meeting. The only difference is it gives the communication link to get into the meeting at the bottom, because it's Teams. When I'm done, I simply click send, just like you normally would. Okay. So it automatically has sent an email to my other computer, which they have the capabilities then of going into their Outlook. They're going to have the meeting invite. They can accept or decline. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to RSVP to this, and I'm going to say that, yes, we're going to attend. Okay. So we're going to accept the meeting. I get a notification back saying, yes, they've accepted, that kind of a thing, like you normally see. Okay. And I just got my email. I heard my ding go off. So what's great about the connectivity that we have back and forth is fantastic. But I can see the meeting here in Outlook. If I go back to Microsoft Teams, I'm going to be able, once it refreshes here, give it just a second. Once it refreshes, I'll also be able to see it here in Microsoft Teams. So the calendar stays connected. And it's wonderful because of the fact that now that I have this meeting scheduled, I would be able to go back and start the meeting from anywhere. I could start the meeting by coming into the calendar through Microsoft Teams, or I could go back to Outlook. There, it finally showed up on my screen there. Sorry about that delay. But I could join it from here in Outlook as well, just by using the icon called join. I get a reminder that will pop up with the join icon. I can go back to the appointment and click on it. And then from my ribbon up at the top, I can click join. I could double click and open it and click join. There's so many different ways you can start that meeting. Okay. Now, I'm not going to start the meeting just yet. Was there a question there, Ty?
There is. So I told Jenny it's possible, but I wondered if you might have some more detail. Jenny asks, can you create a meeting via Outlook and then add a Teams link after, which I know you can do, but I wonder if there might be more to it.
Yes, you can. So let's say that I created a meeting and I invited everybody. I can always go back. I don't have one on here, but let me show you. I can always go back. If it were just a regular meeting that I was going to invite people, oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry. Let me just do a new, I could have done new meeting. Sorry. Why is it defaulting? Normally it doesn't default to be in a Teams
I haven't seen
meeting.
that either.
Why is that doing that? I just got a new computer and it could be an issue that I'm having, but let me just get rid of that. So normally you would not see the Teams stuff down at the bottom when you start a new meeting. I've had some computer issues this past week. Haley can tell you about that. But so what's been happening then is when you come in and you do your normal meeting, you could send it off inviting people. But then you could turn it into a Teams meeting by coming back and clicking on the icon, which now it says join because I thought that I wanted it permanently. But I would click on Teams meeting and then send an update. Then I would just be sending an update to the meeting. Okay. Because then it would give the link information down at the bottom.
I've done that lots of times where I've created a meeting, forgot that I wanted a Teams meeting, gone back, fixed it. Yeah, totally possible.
Me too. Sometimes I just don't start it the right way and I forget to click on it. I just assume it's there, which for some reason mine thinks it should always be there. So I got to check a setting. But anyway, it's a great tool. I love it. So back in Teams, I'm not going to demonstrate a meeting just yet, but I will in just a second because I want to jump back to Teams inside Microsoft Teams before I demonstrate the next meeting. So I'm going to do a couple of other things first, and then let me come back to that calendar. So on the left-hand side of the navigation, you could go to calls. The calls category is where you will see a history of phone calls that you have received or that you missed or that you sent. Because instead of me picking up my phone and calling somebody, I can actually do the call right through Teams. Why would I ever do that? Why can't I just pick up my phone? Well, with my phone, I may not have the capability of turning my video camera on like I can on my laptop. Or what if I want to share my screen with the person? Or what if I want to share a file with the person? If I do the call directly through Teams, I will have access to all of that. The only thing I will not have access to is doing meeting minutes, meeting notes, because it's not a meeting, it's a phone call. But I will have everything else that a typical meeting would have. Let me demonstrate. And by the way, I'm going to have my other computer called this computer first, just so you can kind of see how this works. So let me go to my Jolynn and I'm going to click call. And I need to turn mute on my other computer here. So what's going to happen? Oops, and I'm sorry, you're actually going to not see it because it's on the other. It's going to go on my other monitor. But let me just tell you what's going to happen instead. So what's going to happen is if somebody tries to call you, what's going to happen is if you don't answer, you're going to get a banner notification at the bottom right. You weren't going to see it because it's on my other monitor, but you can accept the call by clicking on video or audio to start, to accept the call, or you can decline the call. But if you don't answer after 20 seconds, it's going to automatically go into voicemail. They will then be able to leave you a voicemail message. Once they hang up with the voicemail, you will get an email plus a notification in Teams that they left you a voicemail message. So the email is going to include the text and audio of the voicemail. Otherwise, you can come in here to Teams and you would be able to access it from here as well. So on the right-hand side, the top right, I can actually click on voicemail and it would give me a list of all my voicemail messages. Okay, so it's pretty cool how that works if you don't answer it. But let's say that I wanted to call somebody. All I have to do, and yes, Ty?
Yeah,
Before I-
there's a question from Vicky here, which I think is a good one. Would you be able to speak more about taking meeting minutes from Teams, which is something I
Yes.
know we use a ton in our office?
Yes, I'm going to do that when I come back to the calendar.
Perfect.
Yes. Oh, definitely. I love that feature. Okay, so table that for just a minute. So if I wanted to make a phone call to somebody else, I can click on the phone receiver when I see the person's profile from Outlook or Microsoft Project or anywhere. I click on that phone receiver and it's automatically going to call that person. So I got a message on my other computers saying Jolene is calling you. I can do video, I can do audio, or I can click the hang up button. I'm going to click to answer it. Sorry. I have to mute my other computer, otherwise you're getting all kinds of static going on. So that other person is on the call with me and I can see it, just like you come into a meeting, you see their profile. Or of course, if we had video, we'd be able to see each other as well. But you can see from the menu at the top, we could chat, we could add additional people to the call. We have different views, we have apps we can use, we have camera turn on, mic turn on and off. We could share our screen. So it's similar to doing a meeting. But if I click on more, that's where you're going to see differences. It's not a meeting. You're going to see phone related information. Like I could hold the call, I could transfer the call, etc. I can record the phone call just like I can record a meeting. So just so you know, you're not getting the meeting notes. Okay. So once you're done, of course, you would just leave the call, hang it up. Okay. So phone calls are very popular. They're becoming more and more popular as people are starting to expand the horizon of Microsoft Teams. So, and just so you know, all of this that I'm talking about is included in your handout. There's probably even more in your handout that we don't have time to cover, but I wanted to give that information to you. Like at the top of page 3, it talks about more information about chatting, you know, the tools that you can use down at the chat with attaching files or pictures, those kind of things. And then it also goes in on page 3 talking about the calendar, So I'm going to finish up just 2 more things on the left-hand side here, and then I'm going to jump back to that calendar. On the left-hand side, remember how I said I'm in Teams all the time, and I kind of use it as my front-end program? Because if I click Files, what that is actually going to give me is my recent files that I've been working on. So this is all my cloud-based files, whether they're files from Microsoft Teams, from my OneDrive, from SharePoint, etc. I can access those files directly here. Pretty cool. So just so you could see, I have all these files here. If I wanted to open any of these, all I would have to do is click on it. It's automatically going to open it here in Microsoft Teams. It opens it in the online version. That's what it does by default. Now, I'm just going to close that for right now, but just so you know, that's a pretty cool feature that we can do that right from inside Teams. But another thing I want to mention on the left-hand side is we have connectivity to lots of Microsoft apps. If we click on apps or the ... I'm going to the ... Let's say that I always want to be able to access my to-dos. I can click on tasks by planner and to-do. And usually this is open for me all the time on my Teams because I use it so much. I have it pinned. But this just opened my to-dos coming from Outlook or Planner and my online app, because these are separate apps, but I can open them directly here in Teams. Now, I won't take that any further today. I just wanted to mention that that is an option. That is something that you could do. Okay, so enough of the left-hand side for right now. Those topics, I want to jump back up to talking about Teams. So I'm going to click on Teams from the left-hand side. I know it's strange. We're in a program called Teams, and they have this another section called Teams. So I'm in Teams inside Teams. What this is used for is collaborating with a group of people. We can have multiple teams created. If we have rights to create a team, we can create a team to share with people within our department. We could share it with the entire organization if we had rights to. We could be having members of the team be people from different departments because we're working on a project together. This would be a central location for us to collaborate. What type of collaboration can we do in a team? We can actually create a team, or someone else can create it, and a team is going to have a name to it. So I have this team that is called Microsoft 365. I have one called Marketing Department, IT Department, one called Clinic, etc., as you can see from my middle part of my window. Underneath this Marketing Department, you're going to see there's a general channel. So we have channels inside our teams, and what that refers to is each channel, and this all starts in your handout on page 7. I'm sorry, I jumped a little bit in the book, but what a team actually is a live collaboration option that we have, where we organize information into channels. So everything in the channel is directly related to the name of the channel, and all channels are directly related to the name of the team. So each channel, like if I go to company templates 2022, I can look on the right-hand side of the screen to see what's included for that channel, because every channel can have different things. They will all have a post tab. The post tab is for the team to post chats back and forth. So it's really a chat feature just for the members of this team. So every team can have owners, members, and guests. Owners are the people that have full rights. Members are people from within your organization that we want to have them have access to this team. They'll be able to access everything in the team. A guest is going to be somebody from outside of your organization, outside of your company, outside of your domain. So I could have a vendor or a customer have access to my team, but they have the less amount of rights. They can't do as much as members can. But what you're seeing on this post tab is we can communicate back and forth with each other. So we can put in questions or comments, and we could even share files if we wanted to. It's just like a chat, but it's only available for everybody that's a member of this team. And then we also have a tab at the top. So all the tabs at the top are really apps. They're technically an app. If I click on the Files tab, this is going to give me a list of all the files that I shared with this group that they have added or I have added. These are files that we want to use to collaborate together. So anyone can open these, and we can do live collaboration with these. So what's going to happen then is if I open up a file, somebody else could open it as well, because they could be in it at the same time with me. So we could both be in the same team together. We could be in the same channel. We could be in the same file at the same time and doing live collaboration. Okay, so I'm going to open up one of these just so you could see an example. So once again, if I open up a file in Teams, it's going to open it directly here. So it automatically opens it in Teams. It's the online version of that application. I'm going to go to the top right and click on the icon for close, not the X to close the program, but just the icon to close that file that I had open. So these are files that are automatically shared with everybody that is a member or a guest or an owner of the team. There's different types of teams described for you at the bottom of page 7. We can have a private team, which is what you use most of the time. That is where we invite people to join us. We could also have a public team or an org-wide. If you have permissions for an org-wide to create one, an org-wide would be something that everybody in your company gets automatically. So I have one called Virtual Training Company at the top of my list here. That's an org-wide team. So you have to have special rights to do that. But on page 8, it talks about the different types of roles. Can you be an owner, a member, or a guest? Okay. We're not going to worry so much about how to create these today or how to manage them. We just really want to do a general overview as to how this all works together. But it does describe on page 8 also what a channel is. So on a channel, by default, we will have a post tab and a files tab. Other than that, we can add other tabs as you need them. So once again, a tab is an app. You can see the channel that I'm in. I'm in a company templates channel. At the top, everything is directly related to the company templates. So I have this marketing plan. If I click on the tab for marketing plan, this is actually going to be opening a Microsoft Planner where we can be creating a task list and assign tasks to the members of our team. So this is an organized list of what needs to be done to complete a specific project. We'll do a whole separate class just for Planner because it's got so many great things it can do and be used for. But you can also see I have a tab up at the top called Excel. I can click on Excel and it's automatically going to open it in an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be named Excel. I could have named it issue log or whatever. But just so you can see, it can automatically open a file. I also have a project notebook. At the tabs at the top, this project notebook is a OneNote notebook that is directly linked into this team where everybody has access to it. Everybody that's a member, a guest, or an owner has access to it. So it's a place we can share information. But then this is the important part, I have a tab called Meeting Notes. If I click on Meeting Notes, this is actually a wiki. It's like an electronic notebook, but it's called a wiki. It's not a OneNote notebook. It's a little less than that. But what are you seeing in here? You are seeing on this middle or this left-hand side of the right-hand side of the screen, the names of meetings that I have connected to this channel. So if I'm going to do a meeting that's related to the marketing department, and it's going to be related to company templates, I can connect the meeting directly to this channel. So that's why I wanted to kind of come back to this, and then I'll talk again about how do I do that in the calendar. So how do I create the meeting and connect it to a channel? So if the meeting's about something that you have in a channel, it just makes sense to do it here because you'll have that tab at the top allowing you to access the meeting notes. So if you take notes during the meeting, they're going to be listed here. So I had one that was a discussion of new templates. I had one that was a follow-up on access. And then I have the marketing templates that we did. And all of the notes for those meetings are stored in one central location. This has saved me hours and hours of my life. Well, in reality, it saved me years for all these years that I've been doing it a more manual process of doing meeting notes. So how is all that going to work together? Let me take you back to calendar. So from the calendar in Teams, not in Outlook, I can create a meeting. So let's say I want it for tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I click on 3 o'clock for Friday. It's going to automatically open this new meeting window where, just like in a regular Outlook meeting, you're going to put in what is the name of it. Maybe we're going to have a policies template meeting. Oops, oh boy, I can't type today. And then I could say who's required to attend, just like you normally would. You'd have your date and your time. The big difference here is down at the bottom on the notes area, you're not seeing the link for Teams. It's doing it automatically because we're creating the meeting in Teams. It's automatically creating a link to Teams for all the participants. And what else is different is in the middle of this window, it says add channel. If I click in add channel, which is unique here in Teams, we can't do this in Outlook, I could then select the name of the team, select the channel that I want to connect it to. Then when I'm done, I'd go to the top right, click send. It's going to send an email to the people just like it normally would. That all is the same. It's going to, of course, add it to my calendar here. It's going to add it to my calendar in Outlook. Excuse me, I got a tickle. I can join the meeting, or meaning start the meeting here in Teams. I could also start the meeting through Outlook, either way. And I even can start it through the channel. I can access the team meeting through the channel. If I go back to Teams, on the left-hand side, click on Teams, and I go back to that channel, I'm going to go to the Post tab, because when you create a meeting that's connected to that channel, it's going to post about it. So everybody that's a member is going to see it. Even if you didn't invite them, they're going to see it. So you can see that it says policies template. That's the name of the meeting. I can click on it and it's going to open the details. Then you can see that it's got the meeting link down at the bottom. But of course, you'd put in your agenda and everything. But let's say that I decided I wanted to join this meeting. If I go to the top right, that's another way to join a meeting. Once I click on join meeting, I'm I could mute myself here, and I'm just going to click join now, because I'm already talking to you on a different system. So nobody else is in here yet, but just so you could see, I have the tools going across the top, similar to what you're seeing in Zoom and what I showed you earlier in a phone call. What's going to be different here is if I go to more, it's going to give me meeting related information instead of phone call related. I can click on meeting notes, and on the right hand side of this window, I'm going to click take notes. It's going to automatically take me back to my channel to the tab called meeting notes. So it automatically, so the name of it on this left hand side is policy template. And now I've got it at the top here, and I can start putting in my notes. So I could talk about new business, I could talk about old business, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Oops, sorry. Once again, I can't spell. So just so you can see, we keep the notes directly with the channel. So we don't have to worry about where the notes for the meeting go. All of it's going to be kept here. So I would go through and do the meeting like you normally would. When you're done with the meeting, of course, you share files, you chat with people, people raise their hand, you ask questions, whatever the case might be, we share our screen. We do all of that normal stuff. But when I'm done with the meeting, I'm going to go to the top right, click on the drop down arrow. I'm not just going to click leave. I'm the organizer. If I leave the meeting, it's still running for the other attendees, the participants. So I'm going to click on the down arrow next to it. I'm going to say end meeting. And I'm going to say, yes, I want to end the meeting for everyone. So it's closed for everybody that was a part of it. I could go back to my calendar, just so you know, go back to that appointment. I'm going to double click and open it again. If you look at the tabs that I have at the top of this appointment, you're going to see that I have, if we had done any chatting, I could go to the chat tab. I could go to the scheduling assistant tab. I can go to the attendance tab. The attendance tab is going to tell me everybody that was in attendance. I could go to the whiteboard if I had done one, or breakout rooms, Q&A, etc. But the notes are going to automatically be back in the channel. Anything else we can access here. What we want all the time is the notes. Now there's some improvements coming to this. I won't mention them today, but just so you know, in the next couple of months, there's going to be some additional things that we're going to be able to do that is really cool. Oh, so excited. We got some exciting things coming in the future. But I am just super excited about this program, Teams. I can't live without it. It is my go-to program for so many different things. So back in your handout, just so that you know, in the section where it was talking about meetings, back on pages 4, 5, etc., it was talking about joining a meeting, how do you start a meeting, that kind of a thing. It also talks about meeting in a channel, but we have this Meet Now that I don't have to schedule a meeting, just like I don't have to schedule a phone call. I can just call the person. I could do the same thing with the meeting. If I'm in the calendar, at the top right, I can click Meet Now. I could also do Meet Now if I'm in Outlook. So I can be in Outlook, click Meet Now, and it's automatically going to open up the meeting. I would give it a name, choose who I want to invite, who I want to join me right at this moment, and they would get a message saying they've been invited to a meeting right now. They get a banner notification and stuff, so they can click on the link to come into the meeting right away. So we can do an impromptu meeting if we want to. Okay. So just so you know, all of that is in that handout that you received if you opened that up. Talks about sharing and collaborating during the meeting. And then at the bottom of page 6 is where the instructions are for making a phone call. Where you could leave a voicemail after 20 seconds. If somebody doesn't answer, you can leave them a voicemail message. The cool thing about this whole program is the connectivity that we have with so many other things. We aren't just in one app. We are really using our whole pool of all of our apps from Microsoft. And we technically could be connecting with some third-party apps as well. If you have a license for them and you have permissions to, you could be doing that as well. But when it comes to collaborating with a group of people, you know, we have chatting capabilities with one-on-ones or group people. We can do phone calls, we can do meetings. But I think the true core of this program goes beyond doing meetings, goes beyond doing chatting, and it's related to Teams. Inside Teams, when we come to Teams, this to me is like nothing else. There isn't another product out there that I have ever seen in my life that can do what this Teams part can do. People are starting to try and duplicate some of it, but Microsoft has the niche on this. It is absolutely wonderful. So keep in mind, if you have rights to create a team, you would most likely be creating a private team. Then you would be inviting people to join the team. We'll talk more about that in a more advanced class as to how we do that. But depending on your role, so let's say that you were invited to a team. How do you know you were invited? One way is it's going to automatically show up. It will show up in your list, but you also will get an email letting you know that you were added as a member to that team, or a guest or an owner, whatever the case would be. So you will get an email notification. So it's not going to be a huge surprise, but it does automatically show up in your list of teams, just so you know. And then teams have a name. And then inside each team, we will always have a general channel. That is for just general information related to the team itself. But then we can create additional channels. So if we want to have an HR department team, maybe we're going to have a separate channel for benefits. Maybe we'd even have a separate channel for health benefits versus dental, or whatever the case would be, depending on how you need to organize things. We could also have a channel for HR that is related to employment. So onboarding versus, you know, what do we do to try and get new employees, those kind of things. But this is going to give you that central location where all your files will be stored. We're going to have the post tab. We could share these other apps like task lists, Excel files. All of that is in one place. Very different from the way we used to work 3, 4, 5 years ago. This is the wave of the future. This is how we are doing things because it just makes sense. It is so efficient and just smart. It's a smart tool to use. Now, just to mention the fact on page 8, this is something we'll actually actively do in an advanced class, but we can have private channels. So if you look at my screen, I have a couple of channels that have a padlock next to them. Those are private channels. They could be for people like managers, or I have this admin guide where they're just people that from the group that is added as members, only these people can get into the private channel. So it's a way that we can have secure information in a separate place that not everybody in the team can see. And then also on that same page 9, it talks about the tabs. So up at the top right, by default, when a channel is created, you will only have the post and the files tab. We can then add whatever tabs we need for the other applications specifically for that channel. So every channel can have different tabs. So I went into accounting department on the general. It only has post, files, and then accounting department notes. If I go to managers right now only has posts and files. So you can see that we can have different tabs on each channel. Okay, accounts payable has different tabs, but they all have files and posts. Okay, I can't live without these teams. I do a lot of project management. I work together with a lot of different people from outside my company, inside my company, and this has saved us so much time and headaches. Everybody knows where to go to get the information. We don't have to worry about, oh, somebody has it on their C drive and they're on vacation for 2 weeks. It's here. We know that. Okay. So I love the live collaboration that we get with it as well. So when you are in the files tab and you're in that live collaboration with 2 people or more being in a document together, which by the way, it talks about that on page 12 of your handout, just so you know it is in your book. Okay. Talks about sharing and uploading files. So when you are on the files tab, if you have an existing file, you click upload. By the way, this is SharePoint document library. When you're on the files tab, every team is creating a SharePoint team, just so you know the background. So when I come to the files tab, I could create a new file, or I could upload in an existing file that I have on a different place on my computer. And then everybody will have access to it. By the way, it makes a copy of the file. So you don't want multiple copies of it. Get rid of it from its original location once you bring it into Teams. So there's no confusion on which file is which. Okay. That was all I wanted to cover with you today to give you a general overview of this program called Microsoft Teams. As you can see, it has a lot included in it. It's an awesome program, and I encourage you to start, even if you just start chatting, that would be a good start with the program. But Ty, did we have any other questions come through that we didn't answer yet?
No questions in the chat, but I had a couple of thoughts just from kind of Smart Dolphins perspective. And you mentioned you can't live without it now, and that's very much been the case for us. Teams over the last few years has all but eliminated internal email for us. We basically don't email internally anymore. You know, just little changes like, you know, we have a channel for every single client, so we can contain all of the relevant discussion to that client channel. If we have a major project, we have a channel for that project. All the talk, all the files end up in that one place. It's all synced to SharePoint. And I think that's kind of what makes it, like you said, you know, a product like no other product. Right. It's one system. So rather than trying to like cobble together Dropbox and Zoom and like a bunch of other stuff,
Google Drive and
Google Drive,
all those other document storage places.
Yeah, the really cool thing is you take this one Microsoft ecosystem, and if you already have your email in Microsoft, if you already have 365 identities, you're signing in like that, you know, you can bring it all together. You can use multi-factor authentication to protect the whole thing. It's really easy. It's one sign-in for every user. It works well across all devices. It's all interconnected. So that's kind of for us like where the magic is in this whole thing. And Teams is like the sort of gateway into it.
Absolutely. I don't leave Teams to do something. If I need to look at what task do I have coming up, I go to the tab on the left-hand side and click on it and I'm in it. I don't have to worry about jumping someplace else to go do something. Most of
my communication and time is in Teams now, and that's a good thing. So
absolutely.
Unless anybody has any other questions that they want to toss out right now, a quick reminder, do check out smartdolphins.com/training for our upcoming sessions. If you are interested in what we do for IT services, definitely give us a shout. We're happy to do free consultations. We also do private training. So if you wanted to get a bit more deeper into Teams or any Office software in a private setting where you can ask really specific, maybe sensitive questions, do let us know. We do have a question actually popped up here from Jenny.
Okay.
Jenny says she had one further question about saving documents in Teams.
Hi, maybe I could just
Yes.
jump on and just
Yeah.
chat so it's not type it out. You were mentioning that you can save a doc, or if you are uploading a document from say SharePoint or somewhere else into Teams, and then you make edits to it, then that will be where the copy is saved, and then you'll want to delete the original copy in sort of SharePoint. So I guess in my mind, I see a little bit of a challenge in that, so that other people on our staff won't have access to the updated copy.
So let me clarify what we were talking about. So I just uploaded a file coming from my computer. It copied it here into Teams, into this channel, into the Files tab. It still resides out on my computer. I'm going to go to my computer and delete it so that I only have this one copy here. This is a SharePoint document library that I am sharing these files that are directly related to accounts payable in this accounting department team. When we talk about SharePoint files, I have a SharePoint team site right here called Clinic, where I have, if we have a SharePoint team site, you automatically have a team in Teams. So depending on how you're utilizing SharePoint, what type of a team, is it communication, is it a team site, you will have access to files here as well. Should you be moving a file from SharePoint into Teams? Sometimes yes, because who needs access to it and where should it truly reside? Where should it really be? Does it belong with everybody that's a member of the SharePoint site, or is it a file just for this team? So yes, you could be bringing in something from SharePoint and get rid of it on SharePoint.
And I guess
not likely, but
I guess it could go the opposite way too, right? Is
exactly.
SharePoint and not on Teams. Our team is just learning about Microsoft Teams, so we're not all super users at this point. So we'll have to think about what's the best approach.
That's true. Think about the best approach for you.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of planning required before jumping into Teams. Like we've definitely seen some businesses that go out and they just start creating a bunch of teams and people jump in. You really want to map it all out and sort of think like, how are you going to use it? So it's very deliberate. It's a little bit tricky sometimes to go and sort of change everything after you've uploaded hundreds or thousands of documents. So yeah, good to take some time and sort of get it right in your head and then deliberately create the teams afterwards.
Which actually during the advanced session, we'll talk more about the planning side and how to actually build it and invite people and things like that. We'll get into more of that.
Excellent. Yeah, good question. Yeah, I think I've covered everything I need to cover. Please do join our more advanced sessions. There's so much more you can do with this tool. It definitely can really transform how you communicate and organize your data and conversations. It's very, very cool. Thank you, Jolynn. That was fantastic. And thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone. See you again.
All right, have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Bernard. Thanks, Haley. Thanks, Ty.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay. I'll see